I won't, well, never mind. We had ice cream for dinner. But just don't tell Kaden. Adults, you can do this when you're an adult, but not a kid. So we're very grateful to be here with y'all today. If I believe I can, let's unpack that a little, shall we? So we here at Centers for Spiritual Living believe and know that there is one energy, right? One source in and through all of creation. We also believe and know that because it's everywhere in all things, it's right here. It's in me. It's in each and every one of us. And then here's where things get interesting. So because this creative power is in all things, including each and every one of us, we are creative beings, and we create our lives, we co-create our lives with spirit, right? Now, some of us, when we first discover this, we're like, oh, wow, I'm going to go manifest some stuff, right? Like, yeah, I'm creative. I'm going to, like, get all this stuff. And, yeah, that is all well and good. It can work great. But then, sometimes, we get to a place where there's something we really want, and it's not happening. And then we say, maybe, things like, is God broken? Or am I broken? Right? Like that place where we feel stuck, and how come it's not working? So that's what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about those places when we feel stuck, and when we need to lean into a deeper experience of co-creation with Spirit. What does that look like? That's what we want to talk about. How does that sound? Good? Okay. Melissa's going to get us started. Melissa?
Thank you. My microphone, so comment on my microphone. So I like to say that my favorite thing about this microphone is the name of the company that makes it, Telefunken. I have a Telefunken mic, yeah. It just makes me feel funky. Okay, this has decided not to work. Good morning. We are professionals here. Okay. So one of the things that I like to do when we come up with a new talk is I look up all the words that are the name of the talk, the title of the talk, in the dictionary. Each word in the dictionary, and then I read that out loud, and it gives me a really nice, deeper conception and understanding of, you know, what we are talking about, what we want to say. So the thing is that this talk is about co-creation with the divine. And so I went to the dictionary and I looked up co-creation. It doesn't exist. That is our word. I mean, I know y'all have probably heard it too, but it's not actually in the dictionary. So I had to, like, you know, take that into prayer and, like, what do I do with that? So I came up with collaboration. I decided co-creation, collaboration, kind of the same thing, right? We are, then the definition is, it's the action of working together with someone to produce or create something. The action of working together with someone, or in this case, something else, to produce or create something. Okay, so that sounds good. So how many people here have ever collaborated and it wasn't fun? Work situations, right? A lot of work situations. You're going to collaborate with this person. So what I have unpacked for myself about collaboration is it's way more fun to collaborate with people you like and enjoy. And you can listen to each other and actually collaborate, right? Yeah. So how this unfolded for me in part is that I was in ministerial school. Z and I were in ministerial school together, actually. And at that time, I was also music helping with the music team at the center where I was studying. And the music director there was classically trained, but asked me to be the music director for this rockin', awesome, out-of-town star that was coming in, and like get the band together, be the music director, create the charts, make sure everything worked well, rehearse them, get them ready before the star came in so she could just, they could just, I'm trying to make it very anonymous, so they could just like step in and do their thing, right? So this is one of those situations where, okay, so I'm given the name and the information of the person I'm going to collaborate with, who is the personal assistant of this star person. And every single communication with this person, it was all email. I don't know if you've ever had somebody like this. Every single communication, small, large, somehow they all just felt terrible to receive. Like I just felt like belittled and condescended to and shamed, and it was so bad. So there was this one particular day that a particularly gnarly email came in, and I like went to Z and consulted. Like I did not know how to respond. I couldn't come up with anything that would sound the least bit ministerial, if you know what I mean. Everything I had to say back was like, rare. So I did what I do in times like that when I'm triggered and I can't like find my way out. I went to the beach. So I drove to the beach, and for us that's a 30-minute drive plus a little, and I the whole time there knew I was going to get there, walk down to the water and say to Spirit, what do I do with this person and this email and this communication? And I would get an answer. That's what I was thinking was going to happen. And I got there, and I walked to the water, and I turned, and I heard myself say to Spirit, Spirit, why are you making me go to ministerial school? Now, anyone who's done this path of ministerial training knows that's often a part of it. The kicking and screaming aspect is just kind of included. But this was I had a long time before I finally said yes, and I really had no concept, no idea, like what in the world could this be, why could this be a good thing for me? I mean, the consciousness training was great, but like, what am I going to do with this? So I was very confused. So Spirit, why are you making me go to ministerial school? And I heard a voice. Now, I don't know if y'all have had this, but I have had this, like, at certain times. I heard a voice that was, like, from the movies, right? Not male, not female, not both, not just this voice that said, you have no idea. And I heard it again. You have no idea. Well, first of all, it was shocking, and it brought tears to my eyes, like it was one of those moments, like, what? And as I continued to unpack this and think about it and try to understand it, I came to two understandings for the two different ways that I heard the you have no idea. So one is, you literally have no idea. Obvi, you are asking, what the heck? And I am telling you, I'm going to leave it like that. You are going to have no idea, because we don't get to know everything all the time, as frustrating as that may be to our little human minds. And the other thing that I heard in that was, like, you have no idea. Like, I've got some good in mind for you, and you can't even imagine how fun, how good, how just right for you it's going to be. And I tell you, boy howdy, that is what my life is today, is the answer to that. We have an online and traveling thing. I spend a lot of my time at home making videos, which it turns out I love doing so much. I write and record the music. We write and record the music, and then we make these videos, and we put them out there for free online, and then we travel, and we do this, which is really fun, right? I mean, that's my life. That's why I was in ministerial school. But I had no idea. And I would have no idea, because none of this was even happening. And what I realized about myself is when I was asking that question, I was coming from a place of being one of those not so great collaborators with spirit. I was being actually the hardest kind of person to collaborate with, that I know some of you have had this experience. Raise your hand, please, if you have ever collaborated with a dictator. Who, like, I'm going to tell you how it's going to be, and you're going to pretend that it was your idea too, and we're going to present this, maybe, although in opportune times I might take all the credit, but we'll pretend that we did this together when that's convenient. Fun, right? So what my question to you is, are you like I was with spirit? Do you dictate to spirit how to co-create with you, how to collaborate? Okay, spirit, I'm going to pray, and I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to fill in all the details, so just to make sure you're clear about what you're creating. Sounds like one of those dictators, right? So the thing is, we need to leave some room for spirit to have a little fun. Just like when we are going to collaborate or co-create with another human, it is only fun when there's room for both. When there's a both and happening. My ideas, your ideas, you make it better, I make it better. Woo! Then it's fun. We need to leave room. So Z and I have these 3 shortcuts. We call them hacks. 3 little hacks to help you get to this, that are elements from our personal practice. I knew it started with a PR. Our personal practice called the Oh My God practice, which is actually a gratitude practice. But the first one is your phrase. So in the book, there's like a whole chapter about this, finding your phrase. But there is a phrase in your life that is a key phrase for you, that is what you just automatically say. It just comes out of your mouth. You don't think about it first. It's what you say when some fabulous, surprising thing happens. Right? Like mine, and it happens to also be Z's, and that was true before we met, is, oh my God. That's why our ministry is called Oh My God Life. And why our practice is called the Oh My God practice, because we are creating an Oh My God life with our Oh My God practice, and ours is Oh My God. But y'all have one, and sometimes it's a little colorful. Words that you might not normally say in church on a Sunday morning. Sometimes it's much, like I am kind of a lot, but some people, their word is like, wow. Right? It can be a chillin' kind of thing, but it's a phrase or a word that is yours, that is your automatic, we call it our magic phrase. So the first hack for you, for the shortcut into co-creating, manifesting in a powerful way, is to find your phrase. Okay, I'll tell you why in a minute. And then there's 2 phrases that we add to that are the second and third hacks. The second one, the phrase is, this is more amazing than I could have ever imagined. Say that. This is more amazing than I could have ever imagined. Here's the thing that's so great about that. You think you can imagine how good it is going to be. But when you say, this is even more amazing than what I could come up with, you are leaving room for spirit to have some fun. Right? Okay, it gets even better, because the third hack is, this is beyond my wildest dreams. Say that? This is beyond my wildest dreams. What you're then saying is, I can imagine some really cool, wild, amazing stuff, but it's way beyond what I can even think of. That's like how this ministry, this life I'm living now is for me. I couldn't have come up with this, right? So I'm really leaving room there. Now I'm like outside the frame and everything, totally outside the box. So to talk even a little more about this co-creation, collaboration process, I give you my favorite co-creator, Reverend Z.
Thank you, Melissa. And I'm never a dictator, right? Never. Never. No. So, over 15 years ago now, I went to hear a talk one night at the Center for Spiritual Living in Santa Rosa. That's where we live. And it was a Wednesday night service, and the speaker was this person that you may or may not have heard of. Her name's Melissa Felipe. I didn't really know her at all at the time. So I go, and I hear this talk, and it was an earlier version of what she was describing today. And in there, she used those phrases. So, better than I can imagine, beyond my wildest dreams. And I'm sitting there listening to this, and I'm like, oh. Because at the time, I was having fun with the whole co-creation process, and I'd had a lot of success with it, except in one area. And that was the area of romantic relationships. So in that area, ever since I first sort of embarked upon the wild and wacky world of romantic relationships, I had a few speed bumps. So the first one was the whole like not straight thing. So I was raised about 4 hours north of here, small town in Ohio, and I was taught sex ed by my gym teacher, who didn't mention anything about anything other than being straight. So that took a while, right, for me to figure out, and finally I moved to California, and that helped. Finally like, oh, okay, check, gay, queer, not straight, yeah. Okay, so that was the first roadblock, and then the first little bump was the second one, was my gender identity and expression. So the word I use to describe myself is gender rich, whole lot of gender going on. Yeah. Also took a while to figure that out. Also not mentioned at all by my gym teacher. So there you go. Also helped to move to California. So there we go. So those first two little speed bumps, yeah. Okay, but then there was a third one. And maybe some of you can relate with this one. So I had a tendency to be attracted to unavailable people. Right? See, some of you know what I'm talking about. So for those of you who have no idea why we're laughing, so here's how it worked. So if someone really liked me, I wanted nothing to do with them. And if someone didn't care if I was dead or alive, I found them very, very attractive. Now, this wasn't really working for me, right? And I'm sitting there listening to this Melissa Felipe person talk, and she's talking about leaving room, right? Better than I can imagine. And I'm like, oh, I've been a dictator. I've had this rigid idea in this one area of my life, and that's why this is the one area where I'm feeling stuck, right? I mentioned at the beginning, like stuck, like not happening, like what, right? So it's like, oh, okay. Very exciting to me. And when you hear something and you're like, this is going to change my life forever. It was like one of those moments. You might wonder what I thought of the Melissa Felipe person. Like, did I get that's my future wife up there? I did not. I didn't at all. Very clueless. But I was excited by what she had to say. So I did go up after and wanted to talk to her. Now, she doesn't remember me at all. She has like a vague memory of this like enthusiastic, gender-rich nerd person who came up after, like vaguely? Yeah. So whatever. I was like, I'm just jazzed. I'm jazzed about this idea, and I'm going to incorporate it into my prayer practice. And that's what I did. So here at Centers for Spiritual Living, we teach this amazing 5-step affirmative prayer treatment. And I do that. I still, every day when I walk, right? I do this out loud and by myself. It's like this powerful thing. So I incorporated those phrases into step 3 of this, like better than I can imagine, more amazing, in all things, but especially about relationship, right? And as I'm doing this, with that area of my life, I notice that I start to see a really specific image, right? As I'm doing this practice. And it's like, it's a woman with short blonde hair. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And I'm thinking, I don't think I'm, dictating. I don't think I'm like telling spirit what it's got to be. I'm pretty sure I'm psychic. I think that's what it is. I'm like seeing what's coming, right? I think that's what it is. So I'm working the prayer, and you know how sometimes when you work a prayer, like you get a lot of what's not that kind of to work through. So that was happening too. I was getting a lot of like, no, sometimes it's good to, Spirit gives us an opportunity to say no, right? I was getting that a lot. So it's still kind of working this through, the whole relationship prayer. About a year after I first saw the Melissa Felipe person do the talk, I go to a spiritual retreat, and who should be the music director but Melissa Felipe? And this time, she wants to talk to me because I just had a novel published, and a mutual friend said, hey, you should go talk to Z about books and stuff. So Melissa and I are talking, and it was just like so cool to talk to each other. Like there was just all this energy there, and we're at this pretty big retreat, like 100 people. And as we're talking, other people wanted to kind of gather around and join in the conversation, and we compared notes later, and we're saying like we didn't really want them to join us, like we just wanted to keep talking to each other. But this is a spiritual retreat, like you're supposed to be all namaste, we were like namaste, like stay away, but you can't do that. So we had to like let others join, so we felt like we kind of couldn't finish the conversation. About a month later, I went to Melissa for keyboard lessons because I grew up playing classical piano, but I was starting to play at the center and play under the prayer and like that. So I go for a lesson. And at the lesson, we talked for 4.5 hours. Did we get then what was going on? No. No, we did not. We had this period of about 2.5 months of feeling like we had just found our new best friend, but didn't get what was going on, because Melissa at the time thought she was straight. Surprise, surprise, yeah. And I was waiting for the woman with short blonde hair, right? Like I knew what was coming. Spirit had given me the vision. So finally, 2.5 months or so in, we realize what's happening. Like, oh, a few days actually apart from each other, like, oh. And it was answered prayer for both of us, because both of us were doing this prayer about beyond what I can imagine, beyond my wildest dreams. We were both praying for that, and that's what we got, because it was indeed beyond what we could imagine. And it's like Melissa described, like what our ministry, there was so much more to it, because it was like this amazing relationship. We've been together 14 years now. We're married. We have this whole ministry, but it was so much more than just a relationship, right? It was like all this other stuff came with it in terms of the creative part and traveling and just all that we're doing, right? Like Spirit sometimes is so much smarter than we are, like really all the time, right? Now, you might be wondering, but Z, you gender-rich nerd, you, what about the woman with short blonde hair, right? Like what was that about then? So here's the thing. I think Spirit did plant that image in my head. And here's why. So I talked about the whole unavailable pattern thing that I was having. I was the one who was unavailable, right? And so because I had this image in my head about what the relationship was going to be, when I was hanging out with Melissa during that time, I was available for a friendship with her in a way that I would not have been if I wasn't sort of distracted by this other image, right? So I was available to really just build this friendship, which then organically, naturally grew into something more. Yeah, sometimes Spirit is a little bit of a trickster, right? Yeah, which is why you gotta like leave room. So here is the question for you. Is there anything in your life that up until now, up until this moment, you have been unavailable to? Maybe that first thing that popped in your head. And are you willing to co-create with Spirit to make it beyond what you're currently imagining? Yes? Yes? Okay. All right. Melissa's going to do one more thing with you then.
So remember I said I would come back to our word, the hack, the first hack of knowing that phrase that comes to mind. So here's the thing. If you're wanting, the most important thing in co-creation on our part is the emotional experience of imagining what we want. The emotional experience of imagining we already have it. Leaving room for it to be beyond our wildest dreams. And your phrase can help you get there. It's a shortcut. Okay? So we're going to use that phrase now. So if you weren't sure what your phrase was, just make one up for now, and then just pay attention in the next few weeks. You will hear it come out of your mouth at some point when some wonderful thing happens. You think of your best friend and they call. Immediately, you're like, oh my God, or whatever it is you say. All right? So for today, just either bring yours to mind or imagine one. And we're going to do a brief exercise. So please close your eyes. And think of that area of your life that Z just invited you to notice, the area where it is not quite how you want it to be yet. You're opening to it becoming better than your wildest dreams. And imagine the feeling around your heart when you think of it being actually becoming beyond your wildest dreams. So good, so amazing. It's way better than you could have imagined. Back there in April at Ahava that morning when you thought of it, oh my God, it is so much better. And so imagine that feeling of, oh my God, it's so much better as you think about that area of your life and focus on your heart and breathe. And imagine that you are in the future now thinking about that area of your life. And what comes to mind, because that area of your life is so amazing, is your phrase. And so after I say mine, oh my God, you're going to say yours, whatever it is. There is permission to say anything in this room for this exercise. So just repeat after me, but you use your phrase. And thinking of that area, and oh my God, it is so amazing. It is answered prayer. Feel into it as you say your word. Thinking of that area, oh my God. 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 And now open your eyes and look at the people next to you, because you know you're going to come here and tell them, oh my God, what happened? Oh my God. And so it is. Thank you.
Let us pray.